John Hamilton Gillespie, before Sarasota. This is the first of three presentations about John Hamilton Gillespie. This presentation is about his life before coming to America. The next is about his life in Sarasota until the beginning of World War I, and the final one is about his life from World War I to his death. His family. John Hamilton Gillespie was born the second son of a Scotch Presbyterian family on the 14th of October, 1852 at Edinburgh, Scotland. John was named after his father and his grandmother's family name, Hamilton. He preferred to be called J. Hamilton or just Hamilton. He had an older brother, George, and three sisters, Eliza, Helen, and May Ross. His parents were Sir John Gillespie and Margaret Ross Robertson Gillespie. His father, Sir John Gillespie, born in 1822 and died in 1901, became a knight in 1883. He was a director of the Edinburgh Academy from 1862 to 1866, the joint secretary to the Royal Company of Archers in 1845, the secretary of the Royal Caledonian Hunt, and a member of the Writers to Her Majesty's Signet Society. Later, he became a director of the Florida Mortgage and Investment Company. Sir John had two brothers, Alexander and Walter. His father and J. Hamilton's grandfather was George Gillespie. Sir John Gillespie and family lived in Scotland, part of the United Kingdom. J. Hamilton Gillespie grew up and went to school and entered professional life in Edinburgh, Scotland. The Gillespies lived at 53 Northumberland Street. The building was built in the early 19th century. Sir Admiral William George Fairfax was the previous owner of this house. Sir Fairfax died on November 7, 1813. To learn more about the Northumberland Street architecture, please use the URL listed here. Education. From Makers of America, as a youth, Gillespie attended Mr. Hunter's School at 20 York Place, Edinburgh, Scotland, for 5 years, 1858 to 1863, at ages 5 to 9. The map shows Gillespie's home at Northumberland Street and Mr. Hunter's School at 20 York Place. After Mr. Hunter's School, Gillespie entered Edinburgh Academy for 6 years, 1863 to 1869, from ages 11 to 16. Edinburgh Academy was originally opened as a day and boarding school for boys in 1824. They taught classical learning, including Greek. The book John Hamilton Gillespie, The Scot Who Saved Sarasota, referred to Gillespie as a man of many talents who read Greek and Latin. According to the Edinburgh Academy website, the three wings leading off the hall used to provide 6 big classrooms. A class master might have had anything from 40 to 80 pupils in his class, according to his popularity. For much of 19th century, a master kept boys for 6 years and then passed them to the rector for their 7th year. J. Hamilton, his uncles, Alexander and Walter, and his brother George were all taught by Mr. Carmichael at different times. His father was taught at Edinburgh Academy by Dr. Cummings from 1829 to 1836. Note, although not finding direct proof, J. Hamilton Gillespie must have received voice and music lessons in his youth, as he entertained others often with his voice and transportable organ during his Sarasota life. This is a map of Edinburgh, Scotland, showing the locations of the Gillespie residence on Northumberland Street and the Edinburgh Academy where J. Hamilton attended school. J. Hamilton's father was a director at the Edinburgh Academy from 1862 to 1866. The Gillespies had a history at Edinburgh Academy. Sir John Gillespie attended there from 1831 to 1835. His brother Alexander attended there from 1831 to 1834, and his other brother Walter attended there from 1843 to 1847. Hamilton's older brother George attended Edinburgh Academy from 1859 to 1866. Brother George was on the Edinburgh Academy football team from 1865 to 1866 and their cricket team in 1866. J. Hamilton was on the Edinburgh Academy football team 1867 to 1868 and 1868 to 1869. Makers of America added that he rounded off his education with a course at both St. Andrews University and Edinburgh University. He did not graduate at either and took no degrees, though eligible for the degree of M.A. at both institutions. This is a partial map of Edinburgh showing Gillespie's home and the University of Edinburgh. J. Hamilton took a class at St. Andrews University but did not graduate. This is a map showing Edinburgh and the University of St. Andrews. Golf. From Memories of Golf, an article that appeared in the Sarasota Times on July 15, 1920, authored by Gillespie. 60 years ago, at age 7, almost 8, I was first introduced to the game. I was then a small boy, the lucky inheritor of a set of golf clubs from my grandfather. But, alas, I knew not the value of the inheritance, and I fear in my youthfully misapplied zeal I treated the time-honored clubs to much ill usage and careless handling until I grew wiser, and then it was too late to remedy the defacing wounds of my dufferdom. Perhaps that is why I dislike to see a novice ill-treating his clubs. I have to this day a putter, a beauty made by Tom Morris, won by my sister at one of the first tournaments held on the ladies' links. The ladies weren't allowed on the golf course then, but in the mid 1800s were allowed to play on the putting green called the ladies' links. Of course, you are aware of our forefathers who played with a feather ball, did not affect iron clubs except to get them out of bad trouble, so my set was composed entirely, with one exception, of wooden clubs, driver or play club, long spoon, mid spoon, short spoon, bathy spoon, putter, and one iron club which was simply called the iron, a broad-faced, formidable looking weapon. My grandfather had not even a cleek, playing evidently through the green entirely with his wooden clubs. I believe he was a good player, so that his clubs may be taken as pretty conclusive evidence of the manners and customs of golfers 100 years ago. A picture of St. Andrew's Royal and Ancient Golf Club, where Gillespie learned how to play golf. The courses were very narrow and certainly not so well kept in any respect as our present day courses, but direction, not distance, was the main object of the golfer. Although seeing that the length of the holes on the leading links 60 or 70 years ago were very similar to what they measure now, our forefathers must have driven a very considerable distance and have been remarkably steady in approaching and placing the ball on the green. Law School. Gillespie as a young man. At 18, in 1870, he became an apprentice under his father to the Writers to Her Majesty's Signet, the prestigious legal body of Scotland, of which his father was a member. Gillespie was admitted as a member of the Writers to Her Majesty's Signet Society on April 21st, 1875, at age 22, and began his professional law career. Government service. According to Makers of America, J. Hamilton Gillespie was commissioned in the Royal Company of Archers, the Queen's Bodyguard in Scotland, in November 1875. His appearance in his official photograph was said to be so youthful that before his picture was presented to Queen Victoria, it was altered to make him appear older. Notice in all the pictures the men were dressed in Royal Company of Archers uniforms, that all bows were unstrung, and all have a supply of arrows at their side. His father, Sir John, was the joint secretary to the Royal Company of Archers. The main duties of the company are now ceremonial, and since the 1822 appointment as the sovereign's bodyguard in Scotland for George IV's visit to Edinburgh, they also include attending the sovereign at various functions during the annual royal visit to Scotland when he or she approaches within 5 miles of Edinburgh, including the Order of the Thistle investitures at the High Kirk of Edinburgh, at St. Giles Cathedral, the Royal Garden Party, and the ceremony of the keys of the Palace of Holyrood House, and the presentation of new colours to Scottish regiments. At the Holyrood House, they provide corridor guards of honour. The company arrives at the Holyrood House by March at noon, preceded by their pipes and drum band, and holding the unstrung bows in their right hands. Initially, they occupy the colonnades of the facade. As was customary for one of his social position, he joined a military unit. According to Makers of America, Gillespie was commissioned as a lieutenant in her volunteer forces, the 1st Midlothian Coast Artillery Brigade, in May of 1881, and was promoted to captain in 1884. Their 4-battery garrison was located in Leith, which is a historic port area in Edinburgh. Marriage. J. Hamilton Gillespie married red-haired Mary Minnie Ann McIver on September 17, 1880. Leaving Scotland. Just after Gillespie was promoted to captain of the 1st Midlothian Artillery Corps, he resigned his captaincy and emigrated to Australia and entered government service in Queensland. There were several rumors why he emigrated: his marriage to a woman below his station, the fact he was a second son, his golf playing interfered with his studies, or he just wanted to get away from his father. In any case, he was settling in to government service when his father called him back to Scotland in 1885. Sir Gillespie wanted his son to become involved with his investment in Sarasota and appointed him resident manager of the Florida Mortgage and Investment Company in Sarasota, Florida. The end. Look for the other episodes of John Hamilton Gillespie.